victim to. Because believe it or not, we've even had a lot of issues where children fall victim to identity theft. And why is that? Because a child has a clean slate. Thieves know that, and they're sought after because they know that they have a clean slate. So a lot of the tips that I'm going to give you today will hopefully prevent your child or children from falling into the same type situation. All right, let's do a disclaimer. Next up. Here. This presentation is not meant to serve as a substitute for reading the various laws discussed, seeking legal counsel, or otherwise requesting department guidance and or interpretations on the laws it administers and enforces. The presentation merely serves as an introduction and overview. All right, let's look at our roadmap for today. Are you able to put it there for me as well?
That's a great question. I will figure that out.
That's not a problem. I'll look at it.
I'm sorry. I'll try and figure it out though.
Okay. On our roadmap for today, we will have an overview of South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs because many people don't know what we do. We'll look at some interesting facts. We'll look at why do children use social media? Can you name that app? I want to see how savvy you are as parents. See how many apps you can recognize. We'll talk about COPA, apps parents should know about, and tips to protect your children. What is South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs? Many people know us for being able to file a complaint. Let's say, for example, sir, you pay for someone to come to your house and you've already signed a contract, they decide they don't want to show up. We can step in through voluntary mediation to help you get your money back. This is something free that we do for everyone in the state of South Carolina. Take advantage of it. And even if we can't help you there, you can take the paperwork that we've done and you can use it to pursue legal actions if need be. You can report scams to us. Even if I'm saying, yeah, you can.
You're gonna have to yell at me.
Yeah, you can report scams to us. Like when you get those robocalls, if you get a phishing type email, all of those things you can report to us. You can report identity theft to us. Don't feel embarrassed about being the victim of identity theft because many people, they don't know what to do. We have an identity theft unit that can help you. We'll give you all of the paperwork that you'll need and the education that you will need to help resolve it. Anyone ever been a victim of identity theft in here? I'm glad to see that. You don't know the hand sign sometimes say, did you say one time, sir? Oh, okay, sorry. All right, and you can check the background of a business. For example, if you're thinking about doing business with a new business in Greenville or an existing business, you can check to see what type of complaints have been rallied against that business before you do that. We have a lot of consumers, they will call and have complaints about businesses, and you can check that out in our complaint system. We also do free presentations like what you're experiencing here today. And we take pride in answering questions about anything that you may have, and if we're not the right agency, we will refer you to the proper agency. And this is our website. On this website, we make it real easy for you to file a complaint. It'll have arrows. You can get a license because we do license businesses like mortgage broken places, funeral homes who are going to issue pre-need contracts, credit counselors, athletic agencies. All of those people come through us in order to function. And you can check the background of a business, report identity theft, as well as scams there, and you can request a presentation on our website as well. And you can see our website information at the bottom, www.consumer.sc.gov. And if you want to know a little bit more about us, you can check us out right there on the tab. Alright, so let's get to the meat as to why we're here today. Before we do that, I want to look at some interesting statistical data as it relates to our topic for today. Look at this. 90% of, you can put them all up if you want. 90% of teens aged 13 to 17 have used social media. That's alarming. Look at this next one. 75% of teens report having at least one active social media profile, that would be it Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. 51% report visiting a social media site at least once daily. And look at this, 2/3 of teens have their own mobile devices with some type of internet last one is very long. On average, teens are online almost how many hours a day? 9, excluding what? Homework. That's a job. If you think about it, that's a full-time job. So these are things that you all need to be aware about as parents. Why do children use social media? You can.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can.
Yep. I'm gonna get fired, aren't I? After this.
No, you're good. They use social media to be able to talk to their friends, maybe friends that they haven't seen in a while, to connect with people across the world. They like group conversations. For example, now within FaceTime, you can do a group chat within FaceTime. They, believe it or not, they too like to stay up to date with current events. And I'm sure you've heard this because I have an 18-year-old who's a student at Greenville Technical College. I have a 14-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. So I'm sure you've heard this next one. They don't have anything to do or they just feel bored. I'm sure you've heard that as parents. And they also feel like they may miss out on something if they're not always up to date with social media. How many parents have encountered some of these that you see up here? Yeah. What do you think is the most popular with your children? In the back. What do you think is the most popular reason?
The talking to friends.
Talking to friends, yeah. No one picks up the phone and calls anyone anymore. Everybody does what? They text. Yeah. Or they communicate via Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. You can move forward. What are the kids doing online? Look at now that first one is kind of alarming. 30% have used the internet in ways parents would not approve of. Let's be real, that's true. 21% have visited sites where they can chat with strangers. Now, this is what you need to you realize, because you have a lot of sexual predators that lurk online trying to get and talk to your children. And that's scary to know that 21% have visited sites where they can chat with strangers. And I know I wouldn't want any of my children to be chatting with someone that's a sexual predator. That's very dangerous. And this last one is true, but we need to address it. 17% have visited porn sites. Can we acknowledge that that's happening? We can't be oblivious to the fact that 17% have visited porn sites. Look at this next one. 11% visited sites that offers ways to cheat on homework. And the last one, 4%, even though this may be surprising, have visited gambling sites. These are things that children are doing, not just South Carolina. This happens all across the world, where children are doing these and they are engaging in this. That's why, as parents, you have to be involved with your children. You have to have that relationship with your child or children where they can come to you and say, Mom, Dad, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you don't have that relationship, if they're not connected to a church like this, I was very impressed with the teen area that he let me visit. When you have things like this helps them to open up and learn about the do's and don'ts with social media. What is cyberbullying? Cyberbullying is bullying or harassing that happens online. It can happen in an email, text message, online gaming, or a social media network site. That could be Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. That's where cyberbullying can happen. Look at the examples of it. Spreading lies or gossip about your child, something that your child may have done or may not have done. They use it to send hurtful information or pictures about your child. And this is the scary part. You have people that will photocopy your child's social media profile and make up another one and then use it to detriment their character. All of this can happen on social media, and that's why you have to stay on top of what your children are doing. I cannot stress that enough. How does cyberbullying happen? Look at this. 42% deals with offensive name calling, 32% with spreading rumors, 25% receiving unsolicited explicit images, and you can see the rest. All of this happens with cyberbullying. And if you want to kind of check out some additional information, you can go to consumernotice.org and look at some additional information. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna put these slides. I'll email them if you don't mind.
Oh,
I didn't even ask your permission. With his permission, I'll send this to you guys because I'm trying to read that right now, and we need a bigger screen. But just so you guys know, this is a lot of information. I'll try and get it to you later this week.
Okay. You can go to. Now, how do you help your child or children against cyberbullying? You want to teach your child or children when they see others harassing others via social media that they don't need to engage in that. They definitely don't need to forward embarrassing photos, particularly photos that may show someone in an inappropriate manner. They need to know that that's inappropriate to do. They need to be able to report cyberbullying, whether it be to you or the website that they're using. And you need to teach your child or children when they're at school and something happens as it relates to cyberbullying, they need to report that to a principal, an administrator. That needs to, because cyberbullying can be damaging from a mental standpoint. No child or children should go through mental agony. They have enough to deal with just within themselves, being who they are. And cyberbullying does not need to be added to that component. By the way, if you have any questions as we go through this, please don't hesitate to stop me. I used to teach school and I love to answer questions. What is COPA? Next slide. COPA stands for the Children's Online Privacy Act. And what this does is it protects children who are 13 or under. And what this does, when your child registers on a website, there are certain components that have to be within the disclaimer in order for that child to engage in that website. This was enacted by Congress, as you see, in 1998 to protect the PII, or personal identifying information of a child. Now, PII can be compromised for children just like adults. What are things that thieves look for? Their social security number, their name, their address, male or female, race. All of those things can be compromised in PII. When your children do social media, you need to make sure that they put as limited information as possible. If they're not, age has to be disclosed, but they shouldn't have things where you can detect their address, birth date. All of that stuff needs to be hidden, because those are things that thieves use to possibly make them become the victim of identity theft. Because remember, children can experience identity theft just like adults. Now, this is what the Act says. It tells you that in order for a child to engage in a website, there must be some type of parental consent. A child should not be able to engage in any type app or any type website where they have to register without the parent's consent. And it must include a privacy policy. It always needs to have that. And it should articulate how your child's personal information should be used. If you, yes?
Is this what, like, Google Pay when you make it under kind of sort of?
Yes, sir. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you what it needs to have in the future. That's a good question. And the site's legal parameters, it must tell about how it will protect your child's personal information if they're going to collect it. Because no site should, as a matter of fact, how many people in here use Credit Karma? Anyone uses Credit Karma?
Credit Karma?
Yes, Credit Karma. Did you realize when you sign up for Credit Karma that it will sell your personal information?
Probably should have realized.
Yes, and I bring that up because here again, many people, they sign up for stuff, and you know when you have that like 13 pages of disclaimer, what do? We just scroll right on up and we do what? We hit the check box and hit click and done. But you need to read those type things, because within there, sometimes you are agreeing to terms that you don't realize. You giving permission because you didn't take the time to read. And even though it may be 13 pages or more, you need to take the time to read those disclaimers, especially when it comes to your children. You can go to the next slide. Now, this may be a little hard to see, but at the first part, what I have circled, it says someone has identified you as a parent, wants to be a video game creator. This is a part of the COPA. These are things that you should be able to see. With your permission, they will unlock the following capabilities. The account registration, and they're telling you these are things, and then under here it says by activating a child's account, you are agreeing to our terms of use, privacy policy, which there should be something separate and you should read before you engage. And the only personally identifiable information stored is their email address for password retrieval purposes, but this will never be shared with others. These are claims and articulations that you need to make sure are included before you let your child or children engage in apps or any type website. If it doesn't say these type things, you don't need to let your child engage in it because it could possibly sell your child's information, or your child's information could possibly be compromised if it's not stored properly. Next slide. Do you recognize these apps? What's this one? All right, next one. Instagram. All right, what's the next one? No brainer. And the last one. TikTok. You all did, but you wouldn't believe the number of parents who don't recognize these basic apps. Very good on that. All right, next slide. These are apps that you as parent, and this is not a complete list, but I just want to let you know how dangerous apps can be. TikTok. Most people know that TikTok will allow you to create a 3 to 15-second video, and it allows children to express themselves in ways that they feel comfortable. But this is why you need to worry as a parent. With TikTok, 13 is the minimum age. A lot of people don't even realize that. But the scary part, TikTok doesn't have a way to authenticate whether your child is 13. So where am I going with that? So that means you can have younger children engaged in this, and they should not be. Look at this last one, or the next one. Anyone can download it. There's no restriction because someone may be 4 or 5. It's accessible. There's inappropriate language and videos. Yet parents let their children engage in TikTok. This is a popular app amongst children. And look at this. This last one is real scary. By default, all accounts are set to public. So that means your child's information is not what? Private. Next app, Tell Owner. Just take a few seconds to kind of look over this. And I want to highlight some stuff. This is a messenger app, just like how if you and I were to text amongst us. But it's very popular, particularly amongst middle and high school students, and it's a way to ask a question anonymously and not be identified. Where am I going with that? You see where I'm going with that? So that means someone could possibly ask your son, your daughter, something private in an inappropriate way through a message or through a text message. Look at this. This is linked to cyberbullying, violent threats. It has sexual content. And look at this one. It's not monitored. And look at this one. This too is set to be public. There's nothing private about it. But this is another app that your child or children or someone your child or children may be associated with has possibly engaged in. Next one. This looks like a calculator. Does it not? It appears to be innocent. But look, this app is used to hide sexual content, photos, videos, and etc. So imagine going through your child's phone and you see that, you just think it's a what? It's a calculator. But it has a hidden meaning. How many people knew about this app? Yeah. And it even hides their browser history. That's the set. So you don't know whether your child could have been engaged in some type of sexual content because guess what? This app will hide it. Snapchat. You use to take pictures. You even have followers. You don't know whether those followers are sexual predators, adults, age 21 or older. And look at this. The thing about Snapchat, I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, as soon as you put the message in, what happens? It disappears. Does it really disappear? why doesn't it really disappear? It disappears from a speculative standpoint, but it's still somewhere out there in cyber world or on the server. Look at this. You as parents need to worry because it's been linked to sexting, bullying, and guess what? Even though the image that may be sexually explicit disappears, it's still out there in cyberspace or even housed on their particular web browser or Excel. So you gotta understand that it's not monitored. And even though the picture disappears, someone could have easily taken a screenshot of that image and used it to detriment or embarrass your child. Look at this one. This is another free messenger. It's free. It's just like a mobile app. It's like, I know you all have heard of WhatsApp. We've heard that. It's just like it's like the twin, but it also uses cryptocurrency. Where am I going with cryptocurrency? We know cryptocurrency is linked to a lot of what? Scams. Most of your children may not even be aware of. But look at this. This is why you need to worry. It allows anyone to contact your child through a messenger. That could be a sexual predator. It allows kids to bypass traditional text messaging features. It's, look at this. It's unlimited access. But the last one is real scary. Over 1,100 child abuse cases are linked to this particular app. These are things, and this is why when you let your children engage in apps, you need to do your research before you let them do it. Because there are a lot of apps that children use they should not use. I know with my 14-year-old son, I have limitations on his cell phone. As soon as 9 o'clock hits, it shuts down. These are things that help me rest at night. I am not ignorant to the fact that my child, as much as I love him, we go to church, I teach him, but I know that peer pressure is real. So as a parent, I take proactive steps to ensure the safety of my child. I don't want my child to be engaged in things that he should not be exposed to. We live in a Christian home, and that's how I like to govern my house, in a Christian-like manner. I don't want my child to see things that are inappropriate or sexually explicit in nature. All right? Let's look at some tips to protect your children. First, you have to understand and be hip to what's going on. You can't educate your children about the do's and don'ts if you as parents don't know what's out there. How can you engage yourself? You have things like what you're doing now. And I commend you all for even having a session like this to educate parents. You have to educate yourselves as parents if you're going to protect your children. Because children are smart. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. Children are smart. They're smarter than us in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to social media. All right? Next slide. These are common internet safety rules for children. You need to teach your children that they should never give out their personal information. They should never tell a stranger how old they are, if they're male or female, what school they go to. How many of your children have social media sites like Facebook?
She has Instagram.
How many people in here, your children actually engage in social media? What, if you don't mind me asking, what does your child engage in?
Our 16-year-old has Instagram.
She has Instagram. Do you have her password?
Yep.
How often do you check her Instagram account?
Every week.
Okay. Are you her friend on Instagram?
Yes.
Very good. See, what she articulated back to me, these are if your child has a Facebook page, you need to be a friend with your child and you need to know what they're posting. That is so important. You just don't, yes sir.
So how do you not necessarily prevent, but how do you actively seek out whether your child has a secret account? They've got the one where you're the friend and they're all this, but then they have a secret one where they can do whatever they want that you don't know about.
You can do a search.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. When he searched me online, he put in Cedric Wright. There were multiple Cedrics that came up. So just like whatever your child's first and last name is, do a search to see if they have, now, parenthetically, let me say this. They may have it with maybe a nickname or something else, but still, Yeah, and teach your children, they should not give out personal information like what school they go to. Yes, sir.
Let me add to that too. So I kind of do the same creepy stalking of our students. And so what I'll do is if I think I've been like blocked, I actually have a burner account that's a different name. And I get on that one and I search their original name to see if they blocked the youth pastor. Like I need to know, did they block me? And I'll go to their friend, like if I know, excuse me, like I'll go to Bo and I'll search his friend, let's say his name's Frank. I'll look through Frank's friends, he only has a couple hundred. I could probably find if there's a burner one in there, just go to their friends and they're probably in their friend list under maybe a nickname or something, but you'll see the picture in there. It just takes time and you feel like you've wasted 30 minutes of your life you'll never get back. But if you have that hunch as a parent, it's in there, you can find it. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, and that's a very good point, which also ties into the information that I will present as well. Also teach your children about opening up emails. What's phishing? What is that?
Where they steal your information, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Phishing is a crafty technique that is used to get usernames, passwords, and other personal identifying information. You need to teach your children about opening up emails that may have malicious links, because those malicious links can wipe out your whole hard drive. And if you and your children are using the same computer, some of you may use your computer to pay bills. So it may have your account number, your routing number, your social security number, your credit card's account numbers. All of those things may be housed on your hard drive. That's why it's important to teach your children these things. And this last one I want to highlight: never agree to meet with someone you meet. Never agree to meet with someone you met online. Many children they're engaging with these predators. They're telling them these things, and these children are secretly meeting with strangers. You need to teach your child or children never to do that. That's definitely dangerous. What are some parental controls that you can use? Filtering and blocking. Depending upon how sophisticated your actual software is on your computer, they can block that. Blocking component can block out things like sexual content, certain words, explicatives, and etc. So these are the type of controls that you need to have on your personal computer, on their iPad, or whatever they use. That's so important. You want to limit their time. I've already articulated to you that I have an app, and I can't think of it right now because I'm having a young moment, that's on my child's, that I use for my child. Here again, at 9 o'clock, his phone shuts down. He can't use it. I can see he doesn't know, but I can see his text messages as well. Because I've been in this long enough to know what's out there, and here again, I don't want my child to succumb to some of the things that I know that's out there. Now, on the weekend, I have it set where he can get a little bit more time because he doesn't have to go to school. He can't get on things like Facebook. He can't get on certain websites. All of that is through the filtering and blocking, as well as the limiting of time, and the monitoring tools. I can see every website he's gone to. I can tell how long he's been on it. I can control all of that. These are all of these things: filtering and blocking, limiting time, monitoring tools. All of these things are things that you, as parents, need to have in order to protect your children. And we talked about privacy settings. Many, for example, I think you said your daughter's engaged in Instagram. Within Instagram, there's certain things that you could hide, like her school, her age, whether she's male or female. You can block out those things. And you want to have as limited information as possible if she is going to engage in Instagram. Now, let me talk to parents. I know it's Jimmy's first day of kindergarten. You want to take a picture and put it on Facebook. You have to be careful about what you post on social media. You have thieves that will lurk your pages to see what you put on there and use the information that you have legitimately put on there to get your personal identifying information. I can promise you, if my wife and I, if we were to go on a vacation, and if I decide to post a picture, the vacation would have already happened 18 weeks ago. We, as parents, and I'm talking about Cedric too, we have to be careful about what we post. Some of us, we go to the grocery store, snap a picture. We just left the zoo, snap a picture. And I even see pictures where people have their card, they have the back of their license tag, they have their address, neighborhoods. We got to stop doing that, people, because these things can hurt you. Not only your children, but it can hurt you as well. You got to be careful about, many of us post pictures. I bet if I check some of your pages, it may have where you went to high school. It may have your email address. Publicly known. These are things that should be hidden even on your profiles as well. And if you are friends with your children, remember, you may have a link that could link that person to your child or children from your personal account. So all of these are things that we need to be cognizant of to protect you as well as your children. So always make sure you have optimum privacy settings if they're going to engage in any type of app or social media. Create a safe screen name. This is important. You want to make sure that your child has a screen name that is reputable. For example, just like how they teach us that we should have professional emails, we shouldn't have something like hotbeauty1996 at gmail.com. I mean, yeah, you want to have something like Cedric Wright1 at gmail.com. So just like we as parents have professional emails, you need to make sure your children have reputable usernames. That's so important. And look at this, for privacy purposes, your kid's screen name should not be the same as their email address. So what that's saying is, they shouldn't have anything, their username should, so for example, if mine is, let's say, Sid Alpha, that's at hotmail.com, that shouldn't be my what? Username as well. Because that username is linked to my what? Email account. So all of those things are things that you need to think about when it relates to your children engaging in social media. Tips to keep your children safe online. I cannot stress this enough. Keep your children's computer in a common area of the home to monitor the internet activity. Even if you're going to allow your child to have their privacy because the computer is in the room, every now and then just, walk by the room. At my house, doors cannot be closed. Anybody else has that room? Yeah. Okay, all right, good. I'm glad we all went to the same school. Yes. None of my children. Now I do give my 18-year-old a little bit. Because she's in college and I don't want to, so, and she's very responsible. But I'm not oblivious to the fact that things can't happen. But that's a good thing to do. Check behind your children with their browser history. Always want to do that. And even with other devices like cell phones, tablets, all of those things you want to check. I already talked about this. Know your child's password. If they have 52 accounts, then you should know how many passwords. 52, yes. 52. Now, this is important. Always keep your computer up to date. When you see that little message that says there's a software patch available, please click on it. That stuff helps to keep you up to date, and it avoids having viruses that may come onto your computer. But your device cannot be protected if you don't keep it up to date. Watch out for free stuff, particularly stuff like games. Those free things that children often try to engage in, it always tries to get some type of personal identifiable or identifying information or PII. You want to watch free games and stuff. Yes, sir.
I got a question about that. My oldest asked me for like a car driving game or whatever. How do you know what those free games, or there's a million free games that come out? How do you know what to look for in that free stuff?
You need to read reviews.
Okay.
My grandmother always told me everyone's not going to tell the same lie.
But,
So and I do that. If my son comes and says, "Well, Dad, can I download this?" First thing I'm doing my research, reading the reviews, double checking, and then if I feel that based upon what I've researched, it's good for him, then I'll give him permission to do it. And that's what you all need to do as parents.
Hey, Cedric.
Yes, sir.
What advice would you give for, I don't know anything about Androids, but like for an iPhone, when you get on the internet browser, you can click a tab that goes to private.
Yes.
Where, is there any way to track that or know what they're looking at if they're switching from the history that can't be tracked?
No, sir, because it becomes, more specifically, it becomes incognito on the iPhone.
Correct.
Yes,
Yep.
so therefore with that, no, they can't. But there is a way to toggle where they can't do the incognito type stage.
Beautiful.
Yes, so.
Okay, so like maybe someone could just Google tonight how to make incognito unaccessible. Right.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Perfect.
All right, if you all would like to connect with us, we have a Facebook account, and you can see our handle there. Definitely like us on Facebook because we'll keep you up to date with the latest scams that are actually happening in the state of South Carolina. We also have a Twitter account and a YouTube channel that has other interesting things. And we also do free publications like Ditch the Pitch. We have a identity theft guide, a credit report. Click it one more time, please. Yeah, we have all of these. If you're interested in it for your church or your business, we have all of these for free. You can call us. We give them out 50 at a time. And are there any questions? Any questions about today's topic? I know I threw a lot at you. Yes, ma'am.
So I heard about two camera control apps called Bark and I think Covenant Eye.
Yes.
What do you think about them?
Because I work for a state agency, I can't talk about that, but I will say this much. If you're thinking about using it, read the reviews before you engage in it. Yes, I've heard of them. I think that they're good, but I can't really talk too much on it because I work for a state agency.
We use
Yeah.
Bark, so if you need, we actually have it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good.
Perfect. Thank you for pulling me out of that ditch.
No, that's great though. Like
Yes.
one of the big reasons we do these huddles is for parents to connect. So
Yes.
before you guys leave, make sure you talk about that.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know if this makes any sense, but I got my oldest son next year. We're probably gonna have to give him a phone because he's gonna be in high school. Or
Yes, sir.
whatever. I wonder if there's any way, like if we could use like a parental account that we can have over his phone, so we can give him his phone, but we can see what we're looking like from our phone on his phone.
Oh, most definitely. Let me tell you how we have our children. Every place my child or children go, I know because I can track them.
Yeah.
I can track my children where they go.
What kind of program for?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Something 360.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
360.
Life 360.
Life 360.
Life
Yes.
360.
Life
Yeah.
360. Yes. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So I checked in with I have a 19-year-old, and he said the calculator app, you need an equation to unlock it.
And it's funny you said that. Yes. But here again, even if you were to see that app, you know for a fact that your child or children, they're doing something that they should not be doing.
He said it's a photo vault disguised as a calculator, and you need an equation to unlock it.
Yes. Yes.
There's also a piano one that does the same thing.
Yeah, right.
You set it to a custom key. I only know that my old boss had it.
Right.
And I'm like, really? Come on. But you set it to whatever keys you want to play. You can play it like a normal little piano, but it's a certain set of keys, and it unlocks it with the file.
Exactly. And keep in mind, the apps that I showed you on, that wasn't even the tip of the iceberg. I just wanted to kind of get your mind open to, what these apps are. That's not even the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
We recently learned the hard way that, like YouTube, they can turn off browser history, but Google still has browser information, things they were looking at, so we could still see what one of our children was looking at on YouTube.
Yes.
And we also, the other way we found that out is we had looked at our teenager's phone and found that his sister had downloaded this app and had been making music videos, and it was just a big deal. But I was shocked. They could turn off the browser history just in YouTube. I was thankful that as
And children know what to do, so we can't know what they're doing. That's why you've got to stay educated, and you always have to stay 10 steps ahead of them. Yes, sir.
Can you speak into, some of our students were just letting me know about a group in the world called Anonymous. Anonymous is like, apparently, and I was Googling them last night, it's fascinating. They're like internet vigilantes. So Anonymous just unleashed a video to Vladimir Putin saying the cyber attacks are coming. It's not a matter of when, not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It was pretty crazy to watch. But then I started going down the YouTube rabbit hole of Anonymous, and there was one, and when they make videos, they wear that V for Vendetta mask.
Right.
So you don't know who they are, and they disguise their voices. It's very creepy, but there was one video, and I would love for you to speak into this. The latest craze with teens right now are messing with the Amazon callers. So I don't know if you guys have had your phone ring, and they say, hey, you've had a $900 charge. If it wasn't you, hit 1.
Yeah.
Well, the teens know that's not me, but they still hit 1, put it on speakerphone while they're at lunch, and it's now, the prank phone call has come to you. So now they want to mess with whoever in the world is calling them, but the anonymous video talked about that if the scammer doesn't like it, they try and keep the kids on the phone because then they can get IP address. They can learn more about your kid the longer they keep them on the phone. So in essence, it's an innocent, this is hilarious, they're calling me, I'm gonna mess with him. He thinks he's messing with me, I'm gonna spin it on him and be goofy, but if you tick off the wrong person, the video talked about they'll ask the kids questions to keep them on the phone longer.
Right.
The longer they have a connection, the more information they can get. It's like a way of phishing.
Yes.
Instead of an email, the phishing is happening via a phone call. So encourage your kids. I know this is happening in your school. Don't mess with these people. Don't even pick it up. Don't hit 1 to talk to them. Because then they'll take your number if they're really mad at you and put you on a million different ones.
That's it.
And your kid's phone will just ring off the hook.
Yes.
Nonstop. So can you just speak into that?
Yeah, and basically, and I like what you said. Here again, they don't need to engage in it because that's why many of you all receive robocalls. Because as soon as you pick it up and you know that your number is live, they take it, sell it to other individuals, which will open you up for additional type phone calls and scams like he's talking about. And you know what? Let me say this. I have my house phone set up. I work with Spectrum. That's my cable company. I have my house set up as well as my phone that no one can call my house unless I've given them permission. All right. So this is what I've done. I put the numbers that I want to come into my house, and anyone else outside of that, they'll get a recording that states the party that you're trying to reach still not available. So as a result of that, I don't have any robocalls coming to my house. Also, even with Verizon, now they have something that it will silence robo-type phone calls. These are the privacy settings that I was talking about, and these are also things that you need to invoke on your child or children's personal devices as well as their cell phone. All right? Any other questions or concerns? Now, I hope that I've given you enough information that has scared you to the point that if you think that you may have some sketchy practices as it relates to protecting your children, that you will take some steps to beef up what you're doing. Because here again, this stuff is real. Identity theft is real. I cannot tell you the number of calls we get where children's information it's been compromised, and they're calling us to take the steps to help mitigate what has happened. Identity theft is real, especially amongst children. You, as parents, you need to protect your children's personal identifiable information. That's so important. And think about it. When data breaches happen, where do they go first as it relates to children?
To us parents.
Sir?
To us parents.
That's one place. They go to the schools. pediatric places, tax places. Why is the tax place popular? Social security numbers, yes, yes. When it comes to your child or children and someone asks for personal information, as parents, you need to ask, if I give you my son's or daughter's information, how are you going to protect it? We don't ask questions like that. We're friendly in the South, and whatever someone asks, we typically get, we don't question them. These are questions that you as parents, even when they go to the doctor. For example, they ask for social security numbers. Has anyone ever asked, if I give you all my child's social, how are you going to protect it? Anyone ever asked that? We just do what? We just give them information and we don't ask. And that's what we have to stop doing as parents. God holds us responsible for protecting our children. Yes, and we have to do that. Yes, sir.
Can you speak into burner phones? So a burner phone would be like dumb phones are making a comeback.
Yeah.
So a lot of our kids have the smartphone that they got for Christmas or from you, and then a lot of them will go on eBay. A lot of them will just kind of go behind your back and get another phone, like a dumb flip phone, that doesn't necessarily have a phone number. It can only work if it's on Wi-Fi. So they turn their phone into you, the iPhone or whatever smartphone, but then they hit open a flip phone, but it has to connect to your Wi-Fi in your house. So I don't know if you can speak into this, but you need to know what devices are hooked up to your modem, and you need to constantly scroll through it. And I only know this because when we just switched to AT&T Fiber, and the guy was showing me how you can see you've got your smart TV hooked up. That's what it's called. If there's anything else out of these 20 things, this is what your Alexa is called. But if there's anything outside of that, you didn't add it.
And it's funny you said, it's funny, and I'll get you in a minute. My son has I forgot, he has an Xbox. I didn't know that he could still use it if it's connected to the internet, to the Wi-Fi. I didn't know that. But yes, that has happened. And here again, but how do you know that it's happening? Like, let me ask you this. When's the last time you checked to see what devices are actually hooking into your Wi-Fi? Has anyone done that? That's another preventative way. And I've heard a little bit about that, but I don't know enough about it to talk about it, but I have heard about it.
These burner phones are interesting because you can get one for $20 on eBay, and the capabilities that some of them have just connected to Wi-Fi with no plan. You don't need T-Mobile, you don't need Sprint.
Just Wi-Fi.
It's like an old iPhone that we give to my 8-year-old that can't make phone calls, but it can still connect to Wi-Fi and he can play his games or whatever. A lot of kids have their dumb phones, or their burner phones is what they call them.
You and then you. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, kids will sell each other phones at school too, to do the same thing with, and then also with the Wi-Fi and identifying who's on the Wi-Fi. Your kids can change the name of a device and be sneaky, you think, oh, it's that phone, it could be the burner phone or.
But on that, like, for instance, my nephew, it's called they have a system called Nighthawk.
Sure.
In Nighthawk, I can go in and specifically, he didn't change your phone name, he can't change their IP address. Their IP address always stays the same.
You need to have
Period,
to
hands down.
yeah.
So in Nighthawk, in the app, I go into that IP address and I hit the little pencil mark and I can name it. So it names your TV, name all of your phones, everything. So it names out inside. They can't touch that. And then I actually have that protected with my phone number. So nobody can actually access that until they have their phone number to get that.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the benefit. The Nighthawk is really.
It is a good one. I've heard, yeah.
We have a warranty that'll do that as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just to encourage everybody in here too, we have a Nintendo Switch and we have a PS4, and I've already figured out that both of those devices have Wi-Fi on them, and they both have Wi-Fi capability,
Right, and that's what I was talking about with privacy settings. When you have your privacy settings beefed up like that, you can prevent things like that from happening. Yes, sir.
So I don't know if this is helpful. It's going to be one more thing to budget for. But in the article I was reading, it talked about essentially having 2 modems / Wi-Fi in your house.
Right.
So we have security cameras. I'm not unplugging my Wi-Fi at night. I want my Ring doorbell to work at 3 in the morning. So there are some parents who, instead of paying $40 a month for internet, they're okay to pay $80 and have 2 different Wi-Fi settings in their home. So at 9 o'clock at night, you turn the Wi-Fi off that they have. And then you have the username and password to the other Wi-Fi that stays connected to your Alexa or the security camera, the Ring doorbell, whatever, that you don't want to turn off. But I mean, if you're sitting here saying, what could I do to turn the Wi-Fi off at night? A burner phone is useless without Wi-Fi.
And also, if you have the parental controls like how he talked about with his, that kind of prevents you from having to take the step that you have, especially. But if you don't have a sophisticated modem in such the way that he has, then that would be an option.
But
Yes.
if you ran 2 modems, so if you ran a hookup and ran it to 2 not 2 modems, 2 routers,
Right.
then you wouldn't have to pay for a second modem.
Right.
Interesting.
Routers
Okay.
to Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Instead of to Wi-Fi. Now that's, I mean, that's not cheap either, but because I think the night off, I think was like $200.
Gotcha.
And that's the low end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the low end for that dog, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other, yes, sir.
I got a question about apps. I know you kind of talked specifically about specific apps, but could you kind of summarize what types of apps you would recommend? Like, type of app that monitors text, system settings, any apps that monitor like your browser, like Huddle and Eyes? Like what kind of groups would you suggest looking for? What types?
Smart Family is really good with Verizon,
Okay.
if you have Verizon. And we also use Bark and Covenant Eyes. Those are both really good.
So Bark, I pretty much know what these do, but Bark is focused more on text, right?
It's everything.
No, it's everything
I
with
get
Bark.
everything.
Social media.
Yeah, social media, everything.
Their browser too can be on there. You can see what they're searching on. the internet.
Emails too.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay.
Well, I ran into a problem with iPhones. They really protect messages, like you can delete them. But right now I have it set up so it's all his messages actually go to an old iPhone that I don't use. So, and he knows that I actually go look, and I don't think he can unlock that yet. But it's like, I guess Apple's really concerned about everybody's privacy, and so they don't allow you to block deleting your emails. I mean, text messages. So,
Right, that's one thing that Bark I think doesn't capture because it's delayed.
yeah.
So if they're smart enough to know to delete it, then it might miss Bark, I think.
Yeah.
So
Any other, yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna say with Instagram, we started a little bit younger because of our daughter and just being online. I was always on her account on my phone, and I could toggle back and forth in that. And so I set it up with her to do that when she was very young. Like, you get Instagram with me being on there. So anything, at least from a social media standpoint, anything that would come through. And I saw like a DM to our son from a kid at school, and it was really bad. And so I actually screenshot it, walked upstairs, and he was all flustered by it because he knew that I would but it was super important because I was able to talk that through to say, he is not supposed to call you that. He is not supposed to, and be invested in that. So to us, to me, I don't feel like there's a lack of privacy. I feel like that's protection, but starting that at a very young age versus at 17 here, we're gonna take control of it.
You're correct.
As well.
You're correct. How many parents in here have parental controls on your child's cell phone, just like the way that I said it? Yeah. If you don't, you need to. You should have your child's phone shut off at a certain time. Children will get up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when you're in a coma, and they will try it, okay? Trust me. They will do it. We cannot be oblivious to the fact that children are sleeping when we're sleeping. That's no longer the case. Yes, and you know, once you get 40, 9 o'clock is the new 12. Yeah.
One of the things we did, when I was the last person to go to bed, our son, especially, his phone comes up.
And yeah.
And it's set in our room. So he would have to venture through, and I always said, so it wouldn't work. But he would have to venture into our room and obtain it from there. But one of the other things that we have been very open with them from day one is we picked the phone. You didn't pick the phone. My daughter didn't pick the phone. We own the phone.
See, you're old school.
I can search your phone. I can take your phone and search it anytime I want. And one of the things that I initiated with them when they were very little is, you live in my house, and until you pay my bill, I can go in your room and I can search. If I think you're up in the bed, I can search your room, and there's nothing you can do about it. It won't happen. And they've been well aware of that from day one. You know, even with the phone, as soon as they got a phone, that phone is mine. If I want to search it, I will search it. And they're not allowed. If they have a screen password on there and they don't, and they wouldn't tell us, it becomes ours. They're not going to get it. So that's been day one. So
We got tight shit at our house.
And I love it. And I love it because that's the way that's how I run my house. My children know their room is rented to them until they're 18. You know, and what works for me might not, but here again, these are things that we have to do. Yes, sir.
I don't know a whole lot about the social media apps, but when you put in or build a profile, the personal information, do you have to put any of it, or can you leave it all blank?
You can put it in there if you choose to, but you can also hide it.
Is it safe to have it in there at all?
I tell people only put information that's required, meaning that it has a little asterisk.
Yeah, right.
If it doesn't have the asterisk, you don't have to put it in there. Because I'm sure, here again, you got people, they got their high school, their hometown, where they went to college, all of their degrees. That stuff is not necessary. It's too much personal information. People use that personal information to try to get you to give your personal information. And they do that. Any other questions or concerns? Yes, sir.
What are practical things we can do to see if our kids' personal information has been compromised?
You can check your child's social security, not social security. You can check their credit accounts to see if something's on there. And just to kind of shift gears a little bit, so many people call us and found out that they've been the victim of identity theft because they checked their credit reports. They found that someone used their social security number and went to Verizon and purchased an iPhone. So just like you check your own credit, you need to check your children's credit as well. Because many times things happen and then your child or children, they don't even know that their credit has been compromised until they turn whatever age and trying to get stuff. And if by chance your child or children have had their information compromised, you can put what's called a consumer credit freeze on your child's credit report. And that will last until they're 16. I will email you the information for that so you can give these to the, that's very important. You can freeze your child's credit report. And shifting gears again, how many people in here have security freezes? Shame on you. How many people in here have a security freeze on your credit reports? Every hand should have gone up. This a security freeze. Okay, God forbid I steal your social security number. A security freeze prevents me from taking your social security number and going to the Lexus dealer and purchasing a car. Because the security freeze will lock it, whereby when the Lexus dealer tries to run the credit for approval, they can't access it. If you don't have a security freeze, every parent in here needs to have that. That's so important. And I'm not telling you all anything that I don't have. I have a security freeze and a fraud alert, particularly because my wife and I, our information got compromised in the 2015 tax data breach. You all remember that? Yes, I was a part of that. So as a result, I have a security freeze as well as a fraud alert on my account. As a matter of fact, I will email him that information too, so he can give that to you all. I may have some packets on that. Let me check. And keep the questions. Any other questions? You all are lucky. I've got some. I'll just give up. I've got the information on that. I've got it right here.
Here, I'll help you guys.
Matter of fact, if you go to, if you go to page 3, it talks about the security freeze and also the protected consumer freeze on page 4 for your children. That's on here as well. All of that information is in here. Did everyone get one? I have one more left. Yes. Definitely check that out. That's a very useful guide. Oh, thank you.
I'll see if I can.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you all so much. You all have been an awesome audience. I hope that you have taken the information today and use it to benefit you, to protect you, as well as your children's well-being. Thank you all so much.
Cedric, thank you so much. Grateful for you, and I can tell you're very passionate about what you do. It seems God is using you in a really big way, so we're grateful for you, and blessings to you.
Thank you so much.
I just have a few quick things I want to talk to you guys about before we break, and I need to grab my laptop. The first thing is, right before we left for the winter retreat, God was able to open up some doors for a friend of mine to buy every one of the students at Alive a 1-minute Bible. If you're at Alive last week, we still have lots of copies of these to make sure everyone gets them. It was really cool. It was my old suite mate from college who just saw my ask on social media. Hey, I need 250 of these and they're $13 each. We have not because you asked not. And about 10 minutes later, he messaged me and just said, hey, what's your church's mailing address? And bought them all. So this was a huge win.
Can I say one more thing? I'm sorry. Also, I forgot to mention this to you. We have free webinars, and these are our upcoming topics. If you go on our website, you're more than welcome to engage in these. And even if you are working at 10:30, we put these on our YouTube channel. A lot of people will be interested in our HOAs because we do take complaints from HOAs. Because a lot of people have complaints as it relates to their personal HOAs. We don't have any regulatory authority over HOAs, but we do take data from HOAs, so we're going to have a good webinar on that. So if there's anything up here that you're interested in, definitely take advantage of our free Wednesday webinar. And we do them every Wednesday at 10:30.
So cool. One book that I would encourage you guys to purchase, and this is not a plug, but I heard about 1-minute Bible because of my mentor and coach. He is a youth pastor at Mariners Church in Irvine, California. He is the author of this book. He also wrote a book called To Have and To Hold. And it's a joke, like, because you're holding your iPhone all the time, your smartphone. This would be a great book for you to buy and to go through yourself or with your spouse, because discipleship isn't taught, it's caught. So, if we're always glued to our phones, chances are our kids want to be glued to their phones. I mean, I have an 8-year-old, and when I told him he couldn't be on his phone, he goes, well, you're on your phone. And of course, I'd love to have the Chris, like, well, darn it, this is my, because I'm not that parent, I wish I was. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. It's like, put it up in my pocket. But if you're looking for a good book to read, to kind of talk about more of what does the iPhone look like in your life, I I think little eyes are watching us a lot, so this would be, I have one free copy if anyone would like to take it. There's actually a lot of books up here that are for free, so if you just want to come and look through this and take one, you're more than welcome to do it. Later tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, I'm going to send you guys the slide that we have been taking our kids through tonight. And it's just called 4 Practical Ways to Pray for Ukraine. And so I just wanted to give this to you to kind of let you know what we're talking about with our students. We did want to inject a big portion of tonight to talk about what's going on. We don't want to be a youth group that puts our head in the sand and certain things are happening, but we're still talking about this. And maybe in the moment it's just not prevalent to what's going on in their world and what their schools are talking about. So we wanted to inject just practical ways that they can pray. So we want to give this to you as well so that you guys can be doing it together. Whether in the car tomorrow morning or at the dinner table. It's just a helpful tool to give you to talk about what's going on. I don't even think it's truly hit me, what's going on when the European Union is talking about this is the darkest day for us since the end of World War II. I mean, it's just unbelievably sobering and heartbreaking. I just opened up my Facebook this morning, and a girl that I went to college with at Liberty, they adopted a little girl from Ukraine, and the man that was responsible for helping with adoptions over there was her friend on Facebook, and they kept in touch, and he just died this morning fighting for his country. And it's like, is this really happening? Hey, Keaton, can you go on ProPresenter and throw up the slide how to pray for Ukraine? It's just, I don't even have the words, And so when me and Dawson were thinking through how do we talk to our students about this, we just wanted to think practically, how do we pray in such a dark, sad time? Talk to your kids about this. You don't have to have all the answers. Just start processing this with them. We at least tried to get the ball rolling tonight, just practical ways. Ask them how they feel about it. How do you feel about what's going on, kind of thing. So Keaton will work on throwing that up. But as he's doing that, I'm also going to leave some flyers here. This is just my little salesman hat that I'm putting on. Lately, in the last 4, 5, 6 months, God has really put it on my heart to be an advocate to try and raise as much money for our youth group in the General Scholarship Fund. And so this is kind of a recap that I've been giving people. That's kind of what we walked them through. Pray for the refuge, pray for those in authority, and pray for peace. One of the things that we're really hitting on upstairs is, if you guys know me politically, you know where I stand, but certain things like let's go Brandon just isn't the thing to say right now. It shouldn't ever be anything to say. We need to pray for our president, even if you do think it's weak leadership or this is a cause and effect of one administration to the other. Like, we're really hitting home with them. No matter what you're hearing at home or with mom and dad or what you truly believe, we have to pray for those in authority. That God would just give them wisdom. So we took it from 1 Timothy 2, ask God to help them respond with wisdom, godliness, and holiness. So just things like that. So I'll leave that up there, but I'll make sure to email this out to all our parents tomorrow. But this is something that I've put together. Our General Scholarship Fund, I think, and Susan, you can even correct me, like 4 or 5 months ago is at 0. And so no one's going to advocate for our youth group unless we do, as the parents, as the youth pastor, So there's just some flyers up here that we kind of made to let people know where the need is. We finally got it in the Need to Know video last week that people can actually directly give and tithe to the General Scholarship Fund, and it is a tax write-off, just like if it would be any other way that you would give to the church. So I just wanted to bring these as well and just put these here. If you don't want it, that's fine. Maybe you can grab one and just give it to someone and let them know, hey, we want to send as many kids to camp as possible, but I need dineros. Yes, sir.
You just answered my question. I was going to ask you what the scholarship is used for, but it's mostly for camp.
Well, during the school year, deeper weekend, and the winter retreat.
Okay.
But mostly, yes, the summer, like Snowbird, Woodlands, middle school, high school, student leadership, university, freestyle for the 5 to 11-year-olds. I feel like I've spent a lot of time the last few weeks just asking. But God has, like, it's crazy. Like, if you just ask, what's the worst they say? No? Okay. Right? It's like going back to 8th grade dating all over again. What's the worst they say? No? I'm also going to be emailing out this week. If we were going to have time, I was going to go through this, but I have a really great worksheet that you can go through called 8 Ways to Affirm Your Kids. Rachel and I have been doing it even with our 5-year-old and 8-year-old, and it's just so simple and so wonderful, and we don't have time to go through it, but I'll be emailing that to you guys this week. Just simple, practical ways you can affirm your kids. I'm not good at this. Like when I'm in like church mode with the hat on, I can affirm, but when I get home, it's like I forget to do this. And Rachel's constantly, you need to affirm and tell your kids you actually like them and love them, like that kind of stuff. And so it was a great reminder to me to do that. So I'm gonna get that to you guys. And then lastly, that's all I got. Is there any questions, anything you guys have going on in your hearts or your minds as far as our youth group, or any questions you guys have about the future, or anything we feel like we need to discuss?
Even just, sorry, after listening to Cedric, it's very gone. But just as parents to come together, and I love that there are holding stage, Nighthawk, this, that, the other, to watch over them. But just even to know that we have access to the Father, and what about if we were to be so bold as to pray, like, Father, would you just break this habit in our own lives, and then in our kids' lives over digital distraction? Because we don't have to have it, we really don't. Like, what if we were to start a new trend and be like, pick up the phone and call? So just to cry out to the Father and say, God, would you just crush this habit in my child's life? And that as parents, we don't have to feel like we have to say yes to it. They're really not going to miss out. They're going to be okay. And just, you know, I'm passionate about this topic so much. And so it's like, pray for God to break the habit in your heart if you have become addicted, because there's that word, and then pray that over your children too. And I think God will be like, yes, I'm waiting for you to say that. Let's get to work now, to the heart of the matter, and just crush it. Just crush it.
I would love for you and the Lord to close us in that prayer. Honestly, guys, I would just encourage you to find the mundane moments where you just have a few minutes just to try to quote unquote, yes, intercede on behalf of your kids, but also, I think Cedric nailed it, we cannot parent from behind. And so practically, like I always go to Peter Hubbard, and I just say, how do you read so many books? And you start every sermon with like quotes of philosophy. Like I barely keep up with one book a year. How do you do it? And he just said, the car. I listen to audiobooks. I'm constantly listening to podcasts. So I try to do it. So I timed it. I've got 9 minutes from my house to the church. That's 9 minutes from here back. Maybe I drive somewhere else. Like, so I'm listening to this parenting podcast, and it talked about Roblox. Well, I don't even know what Roblox are, but I know my kids are playing them. And like 10 minutes through listening to it, I just started crying because I've just failed my children. Like I'm now parenting from behind. I did not know the things that they're looking at on Roblox. I mean, I just kind of glanced at it. I would just encourage you, find the moments, because I went into full parent from behind. Like, no more Roblox. Why? You know, and you're like, Dad's made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Here, read Salty the Songs. Like something. I went into like knee-jerk reaction and old school Salty the Songs. Thank you. So just find moments where you know your kids are a part of. YouTube is another huge resource. You know, YouTube. You know, something like things I need to know about Snapchat. And there will be a video that will just blow your mind on the things you need to know. We just have to be real vigilant right? We'll be able to hit the brakes in a few years when they're in college and they're out of our care, but man, I never thought I'd have to start getting this crazy at this young of an age. But they were handed a phone, right? 2 years old, when you just want to be left alone at a restaurant for a few minutes. We just put phones in their hands so soon. So I would just encourage you, find those moments, whether it's a walk in the morning, I don't know. It'll be different strokes for different folks, but I just want to encourage you, let Cedric's talk just be maybe a small kick in the pants.
Yeah.
I was just taking notes back there, like I never even thought. Look at Judah's, credit score. What? That's crazy, but I'm going to do it this week because no one else is going to do it for your kid, but you are. So I hope it encourages you. We have these books. If you want them, take one. A lot of these have just been books handed down for me from Huddle that I've gone through that are really good. I've got the giving flyers. Make sure your kid gets a 1-minute Bible before they leave here. Anything else?